All right, I've got questions. I've got questions about Darrell Henderson's average draft position right now going on the best ball. Being drafted as RB46, there's just this massive chasm that exists between him and Cam Akers, and it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But like I always do, if I got questions, I'm at least here to try to walk through my thoughts and see if it makes sense to me, and hopefully it makes sense to y'all too. But let's run it through like we do every single week on this particular show, and let's do it by the numbers. So Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, Los Angeles Rams, a good productive backfield, a good productive offense that we would want to try and invest as much draft capital as we can into a productive offense. But nobody really seems to want to dig into that running back group. Unless it's just Cam Akers. Akers is sitting at RB16. Darrell Henderson sitting all the way down at RB46, like somewhere around the 140, 150 range in terms of like overall draft position. And that gap is like one of the largest like in the NFL. Just taking a quick look at ADP as of right now, currently on Underdog. If you look at the primary rusher, or at least just based off of ADP right now, and look at the RB2 that's typically behind them. And I try and filter this for situations where we know the RB2 is going to have some value or at least a decent number of touches on a week-to-week basis. There's only one other situation where the RB1, RB2 delta, or that gap between those two, is greater than that of Henderson's and Akers, and that's with Baltimore. But with Baltimore, we can kind of understand. Dobbins we knew to be a primary rusher. Gus Edwards, a little bit older and also coming off injury. They're both coming off injury. So the expectation would be that there'd be a gap. But no other gap like this exists. Even the Jets with Michael Carter, Breece Hall, or Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell. But no other similar situation where at least we have some semblance of an idea that the RB2 is going to have at least a few touches here and there. Let's say 6 to 8 carries. A couple of targets here and there involved in the pass game, maybe a couple of shots on goal in the red zone. All of those opportunities should be afforded to them on a fairly decent or fairly regular basis, but yet Akers is the one that we've already crowned to be the RB1, the primary runner, like in the Los Angeles Rams backfield. And I don't know, maybe I'm being stubborn, but I'm not particularly buying it. And I don't know if the Rams are really selling that to us, to be quite honest. It's more of a personal bias that we in the fantasy community seem to have like for Cam Akers. Because if you look at Cam Akers' workload, it's not like he completely ran away with the job once he got back from the Achilles injury. Great story, do not get me wrong. But from an opportunity standpoint, in the wild card round, it was essentially just him and Sony Michel. In the wild card round, Darrell Henderson was still out with injury. They wound up upping his opportunity when he started in the divisional round against Tampa Bay. Wound up fumbling a couple of times, like once they got into the red zone. He still had that massive workload, but we never saw a similar touch share once we got into the conference finals. Sony Michel came back into play, and then in the Super Bowl, when Darrell Henderson finally came back, he was down to about a 60% running back opportunity share. Again, this is no shade on Cam Akers. That's not the point of what I'm trying to say here. It's just more of the opportunity that was afforded to him. A 60-40 split now between him and between Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. I'll take 40% for a guy that's being drafted in the 140, 150th overall. Heck, even a 30 to 35% share like overall would be okay. Pop quiz. How many red zone targets did Cam Akers get once they got into the playoffs, once he was back, once he was starting? This is the function that he's supposed to have the greatest or the most efficiency within the Rams offense. 0. No red zone targets for Cam Akers last year. Darrell Henderson got some, but Cam Akers did not. So it's Darrell Henderson that was also in the top half of the league in terms of missed tackles forced and yards after contact per attempt in the 12 weeks that he was active, while he was the Rams' primary rusher. So if Cam Akers is also not just efficient as a runner, but also passive, at least, decent as a pass catcher. I'm not saying he's more efficient than Cam Akers, but at least he's decent as a pass catcher. Shouldn't he be afforded at least a decent role, on a week-to-week basis? It's the same Cam Akers that was top 7 in terms of success rate. This is according to Football Outsiders. So again, it's just not to say that Cam Akers is bad. It's just to say that Darrell Henderson also was able to produce for the Rams. It fits the mold of one of those, at least running back handcuffs at the very least. So let's say insert Alexander Madison, something along those lines here, but also has the week-to-week value that he should be able to produce at an RB2 level. And should anything happen to Cam Akers, which you've already seen happen, Darrell Henderson is the one that will be able to pick up the slack and take on the primary workload for the Rams offense. So at RB46, again, what's the practical application of today's discussion? At RB46, I am all about that value. I'm all about taking on that particular, there's no risk associated with drafting him there. All you get is the positive upside of being able to be attached to a good offense and also being able to pounce on the value should anything shift or more work shift his way. So with that, hop on over to Underdog. Hop in some of those best ball drafts. $2 million up for grabs, like for Best Ball Millionaire 3, if you wind up getting first prize there. But that's it for today. Like any of the analysis that you see here, drop a like, drop a comment. Let us know what other types of targets or whatever players that you want to have reviewed. Alex Caruso was taking a look at Allen Robinson on the very same team earlier today, or yesterday rather. So it's just tons of comment coming out like throughout the entire offseason. But with that, I'll catch y'all later. Be safe. Peace.